For him to see his mama take her last breath and him trying to help her live and then him running outside screaming, help, 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 that's sad. You know, we all lose loved ones every day, but to see your mom just die in front of you and under those circumstances, that's the sad part.
We were supposed to be dating. We were still dating until this plumber guy came along. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone, but I was wrong. I was wrong and I'm sorry, and ain't no way I can repay this. That I have repented with every bone in my body. It's between me and the Lord now.
They say the first time you spoke.
When I see your wife, I'm going. The second time he called, he reiterated that he was going to hurt her. But that's what he said. He said twice he was going to hurt her.
Okay, but that's not what's in your statement, is it?
Yeah, that's because, let me tell you why. That's because my wife was dead, and I'm going through my mind crazy, okay? And you guys question me. I know, go ahead, do your thing.
Let's do this.
June 18th, 2017. A 14-year-old boy was deeply absorbed in his video game when the sound of a heated argument cut through his headphones. It wasn't unusual for his mother and her boyfriend to have loud disagreements, so he dismissed it as another intense misunderstanding. As the shouting escalated, a sound like a gunshot rang out, but caught up in his game, he reassured himself that the noise was part of the action on the screen. His brief sense of relief shattered when his 4-year-old sister frantically tapped him, her words piercing. "My mom is dead. He killed my mom. My mom is shot." Still in denial, he jumped up, abandoning his game, and rushed to the scene. He found his mother, her life slipping away. Desperately, he tried to revive her, holding onto a fragile hope that she might survive. But it was already too late. She took her last breath in his arms. This is the story of Latrice Morris Dorsey. Before we begin, we would love to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Latrice, as well as everyone affected by the gruesome act on that fateful day. Today, we head over to Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan, which has a high rate of crime, especially from the 1970s through the early 2000s, faced rising violence due to economic decline, population loss, and poverty. By the 1980s and 1990s, Motor City, as it's commonly called, or Motown, was often ranked among the most dangerous cities in the U.S., while recent revitalization efforts and community programs have led to some improvement. Many neighborhoods still struggle. However, these efforts would not be enough to stop the impending danger coming upon Latrice. Latrice Morris Dorsey was born and raised in the vibrant city of Detroit, Michigan. Her early life was marked by a strong sense of community and family values, which would later shape her into the dedicated and loving mother she became. Growing up, Latrice was part of a close-knit family. Her father, James Morris, and her siblings created a nurturing environment that fostered her growth and development. Latrice's childhood was filled with love, support, and the encouragement to pursue her dreams. Latrice's educational journey was a significant part of her life. She attended local schools in Detroit, where she excelled academically and developed a passion for helping others. Her interest in healthcare led her to pursue a career in physical therapy, a field that would allow her to make a positive impact on people's lives. After completing her education, Latrice became a dedicated physical therapist. Her profession was not just a job, but a calling, as she found joy in helping patients recover and regain their strength. Her compassion and expertise made her a beloved figure in her community. Latrice's life changed when she met Paul Dorsey. They fell in love quickly, got married, and had 3 beautiful children together. For a while, everything seemed perfect, but over time, they started to realize they weren't right for each other. The differences between them became too much to handle, and eventually, they decided it was best to go their separate ways. It was at this time that Latrice met a man named Earl Maxwell. He seemed to be the answer to her relationship woes, as the pair quickly grew fond of each other. Over the next 4 years, their relationship blossomed and Maxwell became an important part of her life. He even grew close to her children, who were still quite young when he met them. Justin was in middle school, and Jada was in elementary school. As Maxwell integrated into the family, the couple shared many happy moments, and his devotion to Latrice was clear. up to the extent that he even had her name tattooed on his left arm as a symbol of his commitment. However, as the relationship progressed, signs of trouble began to surface. Maxwell became increasingly controlling and violent towards her for some reason. And with the situation escalating, with no signs of ending, Latrice pushed to end the relationship and cut off all contact with him. This included changing her phone number to avoid his calls. Maxwell, unable to accept the breakup, grew increasingly angry. In his desperation to reach Latrice, he began contacting her estranged husband, Paul Dorsey. During several threatening phone calls to Paul, Maxwell made it clear he intended to harm Latrice, revealing his escalating rage over her decision to move on. In fact, he called Paul at least 20 times, and in each of these calls was when he used these exact words.
When I see your wife, I'm going. The second time he called, he reiterated. But that's what he said. He said twice he was going to kill her.
Okay, but that's not what's in your statement, is it?
Paul, like most people when confronted with such alarming news, tried to calm him down and urge him to be patient. A part of him didn't fully believe the seriousness of the situation. I mean, anyone hearing it at first might think, oh, he's just angry, dismissing it as an emotional outburst in the heat of the moment. But that would only be the reaction of someone unaware of the full story. You see, Latrice hadn't just ended her relationship with Maxwell, she had also started seeing someone new. This was the real source of Maxwell's escalating anger and irrational behavior. In an effort to rebuild her life, Latrice moved into a new home on the west side of Detroit, on the 20,000 block of Avon Avenue. This was meant to be a fresh start for her and her children, a chance to leave the past behind. However, Maxwell's inability to cope with the end of the relationship had him constantly visiting and threatening her. How he got to locate her new address wasn't a surprise, as this was expected from someone with this sort of desperation portrayed by him. However, this would ultimately have devastating consequences for Latrice. Latrice Morris Dorsey's reaction to all of this was a testament to her strength, resilience, and deep love for her family. On one fateful Father's Day in 2017, their lives would be forever changed by the devastating event that was soon to come. June 18th, 2017. Latrice Morris Dorsey's life was tragically cut short in a horrific act of domestic violence. Latrice was getting ready to visit her sister's house for Father's Day, her morning filled with the usual activities. Her 4-year-old daughter, Jada, stayed close by as she prepared for the day, while her 14-year-old son, Justin, was in his bedroom, absorbed in playing video games. As Latrice continued her morning routine, Earl Maxwell, her ex-boyfriend, arrived at her home. Upon Maxwell's arrival, an argument ensued between him and Latrice. The argument quickly escalated, with both parties raising their voices. From another room, Justin could hear the loud arguing, even though he was still on his headset, playing video games, but did not immediately realize the severity of the situation. Jada was also present and witnessed the escalating tension. The argument reached a boiling point when Earl Maxwell pulled out a pistol and shot Latrice multiple times. The exact number of shots was 10, according to later testimony. This violent act occurred in the presence of their children, with Jada witnessing the entire event and Justin hearing the gunshots from his room. Justin remained in his room, unaware of the true nature of the noises he had heard until his little sister drew his attention to the horrific reality. Jada ran to Justin's room, crying and saying, "My mom is dead. He killed my mom. My mom is shot." This statement shocked Justin into action. Justin immediately ran into the living room to find his mother lying on the floor, mortally wounded. He held his mother in his arms as she took her last breaths. The scene was chaotic and traumatic, with Jada crying and trying to make sense of what had just happened. Earl Maxwell fled the scene in a dark-colored vehicle, leaving behind a family in shock and grief. The neighbors who heard the gunshots rushed to the scene, but were too late to save Latrice. One neighbor, Ron Wilson, performed CPR on Latrice but was unable to save her.
He just said, help, that's, my mama's been shot, my mama gonna die. I don't know if he didn't kill my mama, I don't know what's going on.
Wilson described the scene saying he gave her CPR and noticed the bullet wounds. and she took her last 2 breaths.
I gave her CPR, and, I noticed the bullet wounds. I noticed she took her last 2 breaths.
While he was performing CPR, the police were called, and medical officials were dispatched to the scene. When they arrived, they pronounced Latrice Morris Dorsey dead due to the multiple cut wounds she had sustained. The police began securing the area and collecting evidence, including witness statements and any physical evidence that could help in the investigation. Justin told police that he saw a man running from the home and taking off in a dark-colored vehicle. This description helped authorities in their search for the suspect. The police broadcast this information to other units, initiating a search for Maxwell and the vehicle.
Police say the search is on to find and question her ex-boyfriend. 7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig has been talking to loved ones who say that ex-boyfriend has been a problem.
Now the search is on to find Latrice's ex-boyfriend, Earl Maxwell. Right now, Detroit police are only calling him a person of interest. We're told he's 5 feet 8 inches tall with a heavy build, yellow teeth, and Latrice's name tattooed on his left arm.
If somebody know where he's at, you are just as guilty as him. The fact that you are hiding him, the fact that you are helping him hide.
The police launched a manhunt for Earl Maxwell. They canvassed the area, spoke with witnesses, and reviewed any available surveillance footage to track down Maxwell's location. The community was also alerted to be on the lookout for Maxwell and the dark-colored vehicle. A couple of days after the incident, Earl Maxwell turned himself in to the Detroit Police Department. He was taken into custody and subsequently charged with first-degree murder and a felony firearms violation. Maxwell's decision to turn himself in may have been influenced by the mounting evidence against him and the intense police search. During the investigation and in court, it was revealed that Maxwell had made several threatening phone calls to Latrice's estranged husband, Paul Dorsey.
What did he say the first time you spoke?
When I see your wife, I'm going. The second time he called, he reiterated that he was going to hurt her.
In the days leading up to the murder, Dorsey testified that Maxwell had said, "When I see your wife, I am going to end her," and reiterated this threat in subsequent calls. These threats were a clear indication of Maxwell's premeditated intent and his escalating anger toward Latrice. However, for some reason, Paul seemed to write up a different narrative in his statement to the police, one that Maxwell's defense attorney almost used against them in the case.
What did I just say? I said, first time I said he called back, he said he killed her. He called back 5 minutes later, told me he wasn't going to kill her, but that's what he said. He said twice he was going to kill her.
Okay, but that's not what's in your statement, is it?
Yeah, that's because, want me to tell you why? That's because my wife was dead, and I'm going through my mind crazy, okay? And you guys question me. I know, go ahead, do your thing.
Let's do this.
Paul soon clarified his reasons for such, claiming his wife was around the corner, and the police kept pressuring him and not giving him enough time to give a detailed account. Maxwell claimed that the shooting was accidental, stating he had shot Latrice 10 times by mistake. However, this claim was met with skepticism given the premeditated nature of his threats and actions. At one point in court, Maxwell snapped and his emotions got the best of him. He claimed they haven't broken up and were still dating when Latrice began seeing someone else.
We were supposed to be dating. We were still dating until this plumber guy came along, but I was wrong. I was wrong, and I'm sorry, and ain't no way I can repay this. It's between me and the Lord now. I just want to let y'all know that I have repented with every bone in my body, and I can never take this back down here on this earth. And I just want to let y'all know that the Lord gave me a dream that she's with the Lord, and that's the only thing that kept me from.
He seemed really upset, but was soon controlled by those around him who probably felt he was doing himself more harm than good at the time. Eventually, after calming down, expressed remorse for his actions, acknowledging that he couldn't take them back, but he would need to do more than just apologies to get out of this one. The prosecution argued that multiple shots and the context of the threats made it clear that the act was not accidental, but rather a deliberate act of violence.
In his statement, claims that he accidentally shot Ms. Dorsey 10 times. He specifically indicates that he accidentally shot her in the back of the head, in her hands, throughout her body.
Latrice's family was devastated by her death, Her father, James Morris, expressed his deep sorrow, saying, "I had 3 daughters, 3 beautiful daughters, and he put a hole in my heart." Her sister, Megan Morris, also spoke about the pain and injustice of the situation, highlighting the cruel timing of the murder on Father's Day, a day when their father was supposed to be celebrating with his daughters.
For him to see his mama take her last breath and him trying to help her live and then him running outside screaming, "Help, help, help," that's sad. You know, we all lose loved ones every day, but to see your mom just die in front of you and under those circumstances, that's the sad part.
The family's emotional statements during the trial and sentencing hearings underscored the profound impact of Latrice's death on their lives. They emphasized the loss of a loving mother, sister, and daughter, and the lasting trauma inflicted on her children. Maxwell's trial was marked by emotional testimony from Latrice's family and friends. The prosecution presented evidence of Maxwell's premeditated actions, including the threatening phone calls and the multiple gunshot wounds. Despite his claim of an accidental shooting, the jury found Maxwell guilty of first-degree murder and a felony firearms violation. In June 2018, Earl Maxwell was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison for the murder of Latrice Morris Dorsey. The sentencing was a culmination of the legal process, but it did little to alleviate the pain and grief felt by Latrice's family. The judge and prosecutors emphasized the disturbing nature of the crime, particularly since it was committed in front of Latrice's children, who would have to live with these images for the rest of their lives. Justin, who had held his mother in his arms as she died, showed remarkable resilience in the face of tragedy. He continued his education and eventually graduated from high school with a 4.0 GPA.
You can't describe it. You have to actually lose a parent just like how I did to really know the feeling that I felt. I knew at the end of the day I had to work hard for what I want, and that was to go to college on a scholarship to play my favorite sport and major in what my mom always wanted to, just to get the degree she didn't have, to make her proud, because I knew I wanted it for myself. We all want to be successful, but first you have to want it for yourself, and that is what I achieved.
Earning a football scholarship to Ferris State University. His journey serves as a testament to the strength and resilience that Latrice instilled in her children. It was sad enough that Latrice had died in a most painful way. It was also too sad that she couldn't live long enough to witness her children grow up into what she molded them into. Imagine achieving a great educational feat, and the very one who sacrificed everything wasn't there to see you anymore. It must have been a roller coaster of emotions for Justin. The tragedy of Latrice Morris Dorsey's death had a profound impact on her community. It highlighted the devastating consequences of domestic violence and the need for greater support and resources for victims. The community came together to support Latrice's family, particularly her children, who were left to navigate the aftermath of this traumatic event. Her story reminds us how important it is to deal with domestic violence and support those who are suffering from it. We must learn to recognize the warning signs of emotional and physical abuse, like threats, control, and fear, before things get worse. This case shows the need for strong support systems for victims, like legal help, counseling, and safe places to stay. As we think about Latrice Morris Dorsey's life, we are reminded of the need to work together to stop these tragedies through awareness, action, and care for those at risk. Her memory calls us to fight against domestic violence and create a safer world. But we couldn't help but wonder, why did Latrice's ex-husband wait till it was too late to reveal a threat of such magnitude? Do you think he secretly encouraged it? Maybe he was jealous, seeing her happy with someone else. Do you think he deliberately ignored the warning? What could he have done differently to save Latrice? And do you think there should be a law where people with first-hand information, like those who do not report, should face consequences for it? Thank you so much once again for watching another video by Wednesday Crime. If you like the way we bring to you stories or you learned something new today, please like this video and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. As always, remember to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Perhaps someone learns from your experience or advice. I will talk to you again in another video. it's bye for now.